As a writer, the temptation to use foreign languages in your works is pretty big. It gives your story a sense of worldliness, and you get some brownie points from the audience as well. It's all about the execution, however, and if you're a little too sloppy, people are gonna notice. You could probably name a bunch of English language movies that pull stunts like this every now and then, but if there's one medium that gets roasted all the time for overusing a foreign language, it's anime. Japan in general loves to throw random English words around, but because of the country's unfamiliarity with the language, it often comes out a bit strange.
Police. Policeman 違います. Policeman.
Policeman.
All you really have to do is look on YouTube and you'll find all kinds of examples of silly English used in all kinds of anime. Of course, a lot of examples used there are from Japanese characters, which aren't what I want to focus on. Instead, I want to talk about characters that are portrayed as English-speaking foreigners whose language skills leave a little to be desired. It's an interesting phenomenon that I've only really seen in anime, so I thought I'd spotlight it for a bit. The one example that really spurred on this particular topic for me was a recent one, the anime Do It Yourself, a slice-of-life manga about female students working on all kinds of handicraft projects. One of the main characters in this anime is a girl named Juliet Queen Elizabeth VII, nicknamed Jobuko by the other girls. Being from America, Jobuko is portrayed in the show as a girl who is fluent in English but struggles in Japanese. Despite this, Jobuko is voiced by Nichika Omori, a native Japanese voice actress with no demonstrable skill in English, and so her performance becomes that of a native Japanese speaker who can't speak English pretending to be bad at Japanese and good at English. No offense to Omori, who I'm sure did the best with what she could. I'm more amused by the fact that nobody in casting or directing bothered to get someone who is at least fluent in English, if not a native speaker, to voice the character. There are examples of voice actors who are fluent in both languages after all. Going for someone who isn't familiar with the language when it's literally one of the most defining traits of the character isn't a demerit, but it does make for quite an interesting result. Of course, this is something you can see all across anime. It's just funny to see English coming out of the mouth of someone who's supposed to be a native speaker. I know it would be cooler if they simply got someone who could speak the language, but at the end of the day, it's simply a quirk of the medium and the culture that surrounds it, and not worth any serious criticism. I do think part of the reason why this happens so much in anime is due to it being animated. In live action, it's pretty obvious if a non-Japanese character is being played by a Japanese actor, but in anime, all you really need is a voice and you can sort of fake it. It's not unique to Japan. Western animation has plenty of examples of ethnic characters being voiced by voice actors that don't match their background. Of course, I always appreciate when they do make the effort to be more representative, but I don't think it's an issue even if they don't. It doesn't stop these scenes from being weird, of course, but there's not really much you can do about that. Even outside of portrayal, there is still some weirdness that can't really be avoided. Black Lagoon, for example, is a manga that largely takes place outside of Japan, with the majority of the characters in the series, including the Japanese-born protagonist Rock, speaking English explicitly. However, at one point in the story, the main crew end up heading to Japan for a mission. While at a festival, Rock and Revy get into a fight with a stall owner, which is only exacerbated by the fact that Revy does not speak Japanese. In the manga, this is relatively easy to portray. Just throw up some brackets and that will signify that a different language is being spoken. In anime, however, voice acting makes things a little more complicated. In the original Japanese dub, we as viewers understand that even though the characters are speaking Japanese, they're speaking English in universe. That's not a big problem, but when this specific situation turns up, Revy has to go from speaking perfect Japanese to awkwardly shouting English to keep up the illusion.
What the fuck? Bullshit! I'm not gonna take this kind of crap, you dickweed! What was that? You just cussed up, didn't you?
There's not much you can do here to avoid this awkwardness. The majority of the script is in Japanese, and aside from this one storyline, Revy isn't busting out random English every other line, so you can't justify specifically looking for a voice actress fluent in English. You might argue that this scene could be better portrayed in the English dub, since then Revy would be speaking the language she's meant to be speaking, but there they just get rid of the language barrier issue entirely, so Revy communicates with the Japanese-speaking characters with no issue at all.
I have no fucking idea why you just said that. I can tell.
Well, there's one I've never heard before, but all the same, I get your point. You and I are the same type. You stink of blood and guts.
Kind of a weird way of going about it, but I get it. they probably didn't want a situation where the Japanese characters went undubbed, and it would have been weird to keep the script as is if it was all in English, so they just decided to skip over it entirely. It's a weird situation, and there isn't much you can do to work around it. I guess you could argue that the only reason this happens so often in anime is because of laziness. The anime studios aren't willing to put in the effort to have these characters and scenes portrayed properly. We've seen other productions do a really good job of integrating multiple languages into a single show, and do it with intense care and accuracy. Even so, I don't know that I feel the same way. Like I said, English has its own appeal, and while it's not the most accurate portrayal, I do think the attempt shows its own kind of passion. The main point is, don't take this video as me saying I don't like English. After all, I can't pretend like other countries don't struggle to portray foreign languages perfectly, including my own. Sure, it takes me out of the moment a little bit to hear it, and I can't deny I expect a little better from professional productions. But as I've said, it's part of the charm, and I wouldn't want it to go away. Thanks for watching. This video is mostly just me throwing out some observations I had about how English gets used in anime, so it's a little more rambly than my usual videos. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on English, and whether you think it enhances or detracts from any particular show. Whatever your opinion is, please tell me about it in the comments below. Subscribe if you want to see more of my videos, and I'll see you next time.